Chemistry Review Training Objectives. Number 1. You will have a deeper understanding of the element hydrogen and the hydrogen ion. Number 2. You will have a basic understanding of how hydrogen bonds with oxygen to form water, hydroxide, and hydronium. Number 3. You will be able to describe what a pH is and what it means. And number 4. You will have an understanding of what an acid compound is and what an alkaline compound is. The parts of an atom. The parts of an atom. The nucleus is the center of the atom, which contains the atom's neutrons and protons. Electron shells circle the nucleus and contain atoms' electrons. Each shell has a specific number of electrons. The more electrons an atom has, the more shells. The outer electron shell is the most important electron shell. It is the shell of the atom that will share and accept electrons with other atoms. Electrons have a negative charge and circle the atom's nucleus on shells. Electrons can be shared between atoms. If a molecule or atom has more electrons than protons, it would have a negative charge. Protons have a positive charge and are in the atom's nucleus along with the atom's neutrons. If a molecule or atom has more protons than electrons, it has a positive charge. If the same amount, it is neutral. An atom's atomic number is the number of protons that an atom contains. Neutrons have a neutral charge and are in the atom's nucleus along with the atom's protons. The number of neutrons an atom has is not significant to atoms bonding. What is hydrogen? Hydrogen is a chemical element and the first element on the periodic table of elements. The symbol for hydrogen is a capital H. Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe. It is also the lightest element, with an atomic mass of 1.00794. Hydrogen's atomic number is 1, and it has 1 proton, 1 electron, and 0 neutrons. Since hydrogen only has 1 electron, it only has 1 electron shell, which is also its outer shell. Hydrogen's outer shell needs 1 more electron to be complete. Thus, hydrogen is constantly attracted to other elements that have electrons to share. What is a hydrogen ion? How hydrogen turns into a hydrogen ion. If hydrogen loses its 1 electron, it becomes a hydrogen ion with a positive charge. The hydrogen ion consists of 1 proton, 0 neutrons, and 0 electrons. Because it has more protons than electrons, this atom has a positive charge and is known as H+. The hydrogen ion needs 2 electrons to fill its outer shell, thus it will be attracted to numerous other atoms that contain electrons. What is water? In order to understand water, we need to understand hydrogen and oxygen, the 8th element on the periodic table of elements. Oxygen is the 3rd most common element in the universe. Oxygen has an atomic mass of 15.99, an atomic number of 8, 8 protons, 8 neutrons, and 8 electrons. As you can see, the oxygen atom has a lot more electrons than hydrogen. Because oxygen has 8 electrons, the inner shell is complete with its 2 electrons, but the outer shell is incomplete with only 6 electrons. How oxygen turns into water. Water consists of 1 oxygen atom and 2 hydrogen atoms. The hydrogens link with oxygen by donating their electrons to the oxygen's outer shell, completing the shell with 8 electrons. Hydrogen also borrows an electron from oxygen, completing its outer shell with 2 electrons. The water molecule has 10 protons, 10 electrons, and 8 neutrons. Water likes and shares with water. The water molecule has something called a dipole. This means it can constantly carry a charge across the molecule. A dipole will cause each molecule to act like a magnet, being attracted to one another. Thus, water is attracted to itself. In a water molecule, the oxygen has the most electrons, and the hydrogen atoms are loosely held on to the molecules by a couple of electrons. Because hydrogen is loosely held on and it is also attracted to other water's oxygen, the water molecules are constantly swapping hydrogen atoms with one another. Sometimes, hydrogen will break away from oxygen and leave its one electron behind, becoming positively charged with only one proton. This is how a hydrogen ion, H+, is created. Water is not only water. Since water is always swapping hydrogens and hydrogen ions are constantly leaving water, there are two other molecules that exist in water. One molecule is called hydronium and one is called hydroxide. Water always has the exact same amount of hydroxide molecules as hydronium molecules. What is hydronium? To understand hydronium, we must have a good understanding of the water molecule. How water turns into hydronium. When a hydrogen ion joins with a water molecule, it makes hydronium. Hydronium is made up of 3 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. It has 11 protons, 10 electrons, and 8 neutrons. Hydronium has a positive charge because it has more protons than electrons. What is hydroxide? To understand hydroxide, we must have a good understanding of the water molecule. How water turns into hydroxide. If water loses a hydrogen ion, it becomes hydroxide. The hydroxide molecule has 1 hydrogen and 1 oxygen, 10 electrons, 9 protons, and 8 neutrons. It carries a negative charge because it has more electrons than protons. What is pH? pH stands for the percent of hydrogen. pH is a form of measurement. The pH scale measures the amount of hydronium versus hydroxide in a solution. It is measured by a scale of 0 to 14. A pH of 7 is neutral, a pH less than 7 is acidic, and a pH more than 7 is alkalinic. An acid has a pH less than 7. Hydronium, which is formed when water adds a hydrogen ion, is what makes a solution acidic. The more hydronium a solution has, the more acidic the solution is. The more acidic a solution, the lower the pH. Therefore, the more hydronium, the lower the pH. An alkaline has a pH more than 7. Hydroxide, which is formed when water loses a hydrogen ion, is what makes a solution an alkaline. The more hydroxide a solution has, the more alkaline the solution is. The more alkaline a solution, the higher the pH. Therefore, the more hydroxide, the higher the pH. A neutral solution has a pH of 7. A neutral pH of 7 indicates there are as many hydronium molecules as hydroxide. Since water is constantly exchanging atoms, and there is always an even amount of hydronium and hydroxide ions, water is a neutral pH of 7. pH buffer. A pH buffer is a solution that resists a change in pH when a small amount of acid or an alkaline is added. A buffer solution contains elements which will remove any hydrogen ions or hydroxide ions that you might add to it so that the pH will not change. Because a buffer is a constant, at Bushnell Industries, we use 4 pH, 7 pH, and 10 pH buffers to calibrate our pH meters daily. Testing a solution's pH with a pH meter. To test a solution, we use the pH meter probe and place it into the test solution. Once in the solution, we compare what the reading is on the meter with the product specifications. Lastly, we record the pH. Bushnell Industries and pH. At Bushnell Industries, we create products that aim to kill harmful bacteria. Our products work by disrupting a bacteria's ideal growth environment. In the lab, we test the pH of our products as well as raw products we receive. We make sure each solution is within the pH parameters that have been set for that specific product. Having an understanding of what a pH is an important part of being a competent Bushnell Industries employee.